Alrighty, good morning everyone. This is Azzy1992. You can find me on Facebook, you can find me on Twitch, and you can find me of course on YouTube. Today we're gonna go over exactly what are my personal top 5 guns.
And one of them make it, I guess. You know I live with the criticisms. People are giving a big and they put it upon a pedestal. A pendant for your thoughts, but I never asked for change. My work ethic's ridiculous and yours is not the same.
So first guns, we're going to focus on our close combat weapons. Those two are going to be our Sentinel and our Son of Sky. These are the ones where if you're in combat, you can quickly activate your abilities and kind of act with them, shooting the targets as you're rotating around. These two guns are the Sentinel, and this is fully loaded. And we have the Son of Sky, as well fully loaded. Both of these have extreme power once they have everything equipped on them. One of the big things you'll notice too is that when you choose to fight with these guns without a scope, they do the same amount of damage of course, however the accuracy naturally wants it to raise, so you do have to keep control and bringing it downwards as you're shooting. This goes for both of these guns. Both of these guns have a natural tendency when shooting to go upwards, so they do need a downward control, where the recoil does seem too much. The greatest way I found to actually countering that ability is when you put the 2x scope onto both of these guns. It A, gives you a complete surrounding so you can still see everything around you. There's no hard scopes if you were to use a 4x or higher. Allows you to see your enemies in the distance still, while giving you much stronger control over the gunfire. This goes for both of the guns, so it still has that raise to it, but it's much easier to control, bringing it down. And as you can tell, all of those being headshots that can quickly annihilate an enemy. This can be used at a distance of course too, this isn't just for the close range. It does attack farther as well. So these are both the guns. Now the big thing that comes with these guns is that certain things like the core ability for the Sentinel greatly shortens the reload and aim down time of the scope. So if you're in fast gunplay motions, you need to be able to react quickly. This gun gives you that potential. The thing that makes the Son of the Sky very effective is that once you do put on the core for this, increases the headshot damage of this gun, which as you can tell is a huge damage increase. Almost half of the damage is added onto the damage itself. This is something to keep in mind. These are two very effective guns at a close range battle. If you watch me in streams, you'll see exactly where guns like these can come in very effective. They're very good for tracking still. So if there were enemies that you wanted to track, as you can tell, you could track them for the entire gunfight. And these are probably two of the best close range weapons I can recommend. So the next guns we're going to talk about is the Valkyrie and the Soul Snatcher. These are two very powerful long-range rifles. These can get the job done for anyone that practices them, and they can get it done very efficiently. The big thing with the Valkyrie is that when it's attached with the 6x scope, as well as a sniper rifle core, the fire rate and recoil rate of this gun makes its ability to constantly shoot out headshots very easy. This is a very strong gun in that mindset. It only takes about 2 headshots to remove almost all enemies in this game. When it comes to the Soul Snatcher, again, I prefer 6x, however the 6 to 4x I feel gives it its best control. So when you need to act, you need to be able to have that quick reaction, something to scope in quickly to your targets. This is the gun I personally prefer to use, and it can change the fight in one shot. If you're personally learning how to use the sniper, I recommend pick up the Valkyrie at first, as this allows you to be mobile. You'll have some players when you play against, you can use the tower, you can drop on them. You know, there's a very powerful fire rate to the gun. One thing I love to do though, is that when you're in the Soul Snatcher, if you have the core ability attached, when you connect it to a player, it still activates the ability on it. So if you want to hop into training rounds with someone, you know, you got this player climbing, you want to practice your aim, you can practice those shots. And you only need 2, and you can see how it doubles the effect. So you know when you've hit your target. Great way to practice, great way to figure out if you're actually shooting the gun properly. So that's another thing. You can practice the Soul Snatcher in the training ground simply by just aiming at a target and shooting them. This also makes a lot of fun if you have another teammate in the training lobby with you that's doing the same sort of strats, because you can play with them in that way where You're using your abilities, you're practicing, and you know when you're hitting your target. Now, amongst all this, there is one rifle where I don't recommend having this as your endgame rifle, but if you are looking for something, you are lacking the attachments, the Delta rifle is probably one of the strongest guns in the game that involves having nothing else equipped to it. So in the case you didn't have a scope, you didn't have a core ability whatsoever, you just had the Delta rifle, this gun can be very effective. One of the biggest things too is that this gun does not need a scope. Its ability to stay accurate is insane. You just need to point at the target, and as you can tell, I didn't have to control my mouse whatsoever. I just put the dot on the head and I can just let loose. It just goes left and right a little bit, almost like an AK from other games if you played them. And that's pretty much all you need to worry about this rifle. But with the way the hitboxes are in this game, something like that, you would be hitting every single bullet. So if you're looking for something on the fly the moment you land and you know you have a good shot, pick up the Delta rifle. Don't put the scope on it, because the moment that you do place a scope onto this gun, it does create that recoil effect where it lifts up. But without the scope, as I just showed before, you can place it on the target and it just unleashes on the enemy. This is a great long range, close range, it's the all around package in the case you're unable to find the equipment you need for the situation. And so there are two guns that do deserve honorable mentions, one of them being the Nightingale shotgun, as this gives you, once you have the core attached to it, an ability. Shield All creates a temporary HP shield for nearby allies. This also does work for you too, so if you're a solo player and you're someone that likes to get really close to the target, you're willing to risk getting hit by a few bullets, you can activate the core ability, and it allows you to actually have an extra bar of health so that you can push the person. This is the exact same as using the Quantum Barrier ability, which does, well, the exact same thing, just this is placed into a weapon. Another honorable mention, however this is an unfortunate one that is in the game, is the Absolute Freeze weapon. This weapon sprays out a little puff of cold air and will actually freeze the target, allowing you the opportunity, if they do not use their shield barrier, I need more cubes, where if they do not use their shield barrier at the point of being frozen to be lasered, or if they use their tower to get out while frozen, they're more than likely dead every single time. The core ability itself, although not used very often, can be very effective, especially if you AoE an entire team sitting alone. However, just quickly using this, swapping, taking a shot can be the end of the match just like that. Looks like I made myself a new friend. So, honorable mention, you're not going to be the most liked player if you're caught using it. However, that is a interesting weapon. Another honorable mention in this compilation is going to be the grenades. So many cases where if you're running the sniper, you get an opportunity where you can hit a target. If it's not a headshot, they have near 30% of their health left. You can then hold the grenade down, which creates this arc, which you can then place onto the side as perfectly as possible, and you could finish off your target. It's very effective. As you can tell, you can go a very long range of it. So if this guy was standing still, we could do something about it. But let's just use the vehicle for example. As you can tell, the arcs on it, it hits properly. This is a very strong weapon. It takes out almost 50% of your health when it does connect. It does an insane amount of damage. And it's pretty much the perfect counter to anyone that's trying to camp a house, trying to camp a corner, and you know they're low health and you can take them out. So just to keep that in mind, that's very effective. So those would be my top 5 weapons with a few extra honorable mentions that are worth picking up in the case that you find you need to add something unique to the situation in order to get the win. Anyway guys, my name's Azzy1992. I thank you again for coming out. I hope those tips help you out just a little bit, and till next time, cheers.
And I wanted to make it, I guess, you know I live with the criticisms. People are giving opinion, they put it upon a pedestal. A pendant for your thoughts, but I never asked for change. My work ethic's ridiculous and yours is not the same.